Hey, thanks for joining me. We're continuing Devil's Reign. We're on chapter 5. This is Wolverine and Witchblade. Thank Christ we finally made it this far. We get to where the art gets really, really exciting and really good for the artist that we are all kind of waiting to see the most. At least that was kind of the mindset as far as I was concerned way back when this come out. 96, I believe it is. Um, Michael Turner, I've talked about him. I've showed all his Witchblades and Soul Fires and things like that, and talked about him. And there's still more work of his to go through that I want to show eventually. But I was a big fan at the time, and I'm still a fan. And of course, we all know he passed away, and that really, really super sucks. But at the time, he was like the superstar artist at Top Cow, kind of overshadowing everybody. I think even including Silvestri. He was just had that style that just got people's attention, and he was working on Witchblade, and it was a book that was really getting some heat, and I enjoyed it. I was a huge fan of his work, and so I was really excited to see this one come out because we get to see Michael Turner drawing Witchblade, and he is like the definitive artist of the character. Like no one else does her better. I would probably put Silvestri's rendition of the character as like second best, maybe just on the same par with Michael Turner's version, but it's because Silvestri is just so good, and everything that Michael Turner can do, I would argue that Silvestri can do just as good. But Michael Turner put in lots of time and lots of pages on the Witchblade character, and so he just kind of made it his own. And you think Witchblade, you think Michael Turner, and that's awesome. Or at least I do. So getting to see Michael Turner draw Witchblade in a book is always fun, and then it's crossing over with Wolverine, like my favorite character from Marvel, and at some points, debatably, my favorite character ever. Hell yeah. Can't wait for that. The storyline, Mephisto from Marvel, he's jumped over to the Top Cow universe to swallow souls of the Top Cow universe. I don't, who fucking cares? As I've gone through these things, I gotta be honest, it's kind of like, this story's not really a big deal. It's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Mephisto's there, and he's evil, and he's making people do evil stuff, and we got to have, it's just an excuse to get various characters together, and that's fun. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not like this is like some amazing written story. But I also don't think there's any pretension about it being anything but let's just get our characters together and let's just kind of have them interact and have some fun. Why not? And that's perfectly fine. I really like this cover. I would sometimes suggest that it's not a good idea to stack characters on top of each other. Looks like maybe Wolverine's giving Witchblade a piggyback ride, which, let's be for real, if Witchblade showed up and wanted me to give her she's like, will you give me a piggyback ride? Hell yeah, babe. Jump on me. Get rid of that Witchblade weapon. I don't want you stabbing me to death. But I think it looks great. I was really curious to see what Michael Turner's version of Wolverine is. Wolverine's one of those characters where I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of easy to get him right. He's got to be short and squat and thick and tough and got claws and look angry. I don't know. But he kind of seems to bring out the best in a lot of artists to do Wolverine. He's one of those visual guys that just seems like people have fun doing. And I was really curious to see what Michael Turner's version would look like. And as is the case, Michael Turner almost never disappointed. It's very rare to look at a Michael Turner book and go, oh, he didn't really nail that page or that book or anything like that. Like, he's always kind of on fire. So yeah, having the characters stacked up on top of each other, I normally wouldn't think that would work, but I don't know. He pulls it off. Great detail. Like, that is a super over muscled Wolverine, but these are comic books, damn it. And so who cares? Like, that looks great. Getting into it, the last issue, we're on 5, right? Yeah. Part 4, Wolverine showed up. He ran around with Ballistic. They did a bunch of stuff that's uninteresting and not worth revisiting in terms of recapping the story, just in case you're like, hey, what happened before? Who knows? Who cares? Wolverine's in the Top Cow universe. He's in New York. He ran into Ballistic. She went God knows where. I don't know where she's at. But the city streets were wiped of people It's just kind of this ominous, like blank, empty streets, and it's kind of spooky. So Wolverine's there with this character, and it mentions her name, and I can't honestly like be bothered to like. It's vaguely familiar who this character is, but I'm like, this is not an interesting character. Why do I care about whoever this is? But she's there to help Wolverine. He's trying to figure out the mystery of where everyone went and how can he stop Mephisto. So again, this is all about just letting Michael Turner shine. I mean, I was about to use the word, we're going to waste space with big, giant, glorious shots of the characters, but it's all subjective, right? Is it a waste of space, or is it a perfect use of space with an artist whose work you really, really like? When you have a big full image like this, especially on 2 pages facing each other, you got the big shot of Wolverine, the big shot of Witchblade. There's a lot of storytelling that could be going on, but this is kind of art driven, and we're here to just kind of just bask in the awesomeness that is Michael Turner's work. Having kind of flipped through this thing before I got recording here, I was a little bit disappointed in the book, in as much as it just kind of feels like a recap of the Witchblade comic book for big chunks, and then eventually Wolverine shows up and there's some fighting, and then it ends on a cliffhanger. But it was just kind of like, again, I hate to say the word, it was a waste of space to recap the Witchblade comic, but who's reading this that hasn't been reading Witchblade already? I mean, obviously there could be some people, but I'm like, there's stuff that we could be doing story-wise that could be more interesting. But again, separate yourself from that story element and just looking at the art. Oh my God, is it so good? I love it. This is all Wolverine's inner thoughts. I read it. There's nothing worth recapping. It's just his inner thoughts of like, hey, this sucks and I need to find things, and then there's a mystery and I got to go solve it, and blah, blah, blah. And then she there lamenting to herself, everything looks different. Things are so weird. Witchblade's kind of, you'll find out that her memory's affected. She doesn't remember exactly who and what she is exactly. Things are different, and she's kind of confused. But again, just getting to sit here and look at Michael Turner's artwork, the way he draws female faces, he does kind of have a thing that a lot of artists kind of struggle with, I think, where most of the female faces tend to look the same. But the way that he draws her hair, it's like a design element, just flowing through the air, that long brown hair, brunette look. Like, it looks like Witchblade because it is Michael Turner drawing the distinctive character that he's popular and known for. And then Wolverine over here. I have to say I was surprised, and I'm actually kind of curious as to why Michael Turner chose to ignore the classic Wolverine hairdo with the little pointed little winglet things. It is honestly one of those design elements that, like, it's a defining look of Wolverine, but sometimes I feel like it could be hard to draw that and make it look not silly. There are times where some artists like, this is what his hair looks like, so you just do it, and then you're looking at it, and you're like, that looks kind of ridiculous. Some artists pull it off. I wonder if Michael Turner was just like, I don't want to do that, so he just has his hair so long that it just kind of hangs down, which is, I think, a valid thing. We've seen a lot of artists draw Wolverine with long hair, and it just maintains that big, weird, animalistic little wing shape. So I don't care that Wolverine doesn't have a normal little pointy hair thing. If you were just to see this picture of him, like say you were shown this art with no context, would you identify it as Wolverine? Probably not. But we're in a comic. We know who's in it, so we can identify it. And I think it actually kind of works. I really, really love the cross-hatching line work going on in here. D-Tron is the one doing inks for Turner at this era. Eventually, Joe Weems ends up inking Michael Turner over on Fathom, and I think that's the best version. I like Weems inks on Michael Turner best, but D-Tron is like fantastic. He's able to throw these long, beautiful ink lines that I'm super envious of. Looks fantastic. It looks so good. But yeah, great shot of Wolverine, great shot of Witchblade. They're both standing there, look like they're essentially naked. Hell yeah, why not? So then we get back with Witchblade, and then this is where it's kind of like maybe a recap is not exactly the right thing. There's a certain element coming up here where it's a little bit of a recap, but because Witchblade's lost her memory, and her mind is in kind of a fog, she's kind of in a situation that resembles her regular day-to-day life, but things are a little off. It just doesn't feel right. She shows up like she just got wounded in a previous like mission that she was on, but she's back out of the hospital. They're like, "Hey, get back to work there. You know, you've taken up enough time pretending to be sick and injured." But you know, they're all clapping. They're glad she's back. She's part of the team. But then something really dramatic and weird happens. She looks and sees this guy. His name's Michael, and he was her partner in issue 1, and he got shot dead in issue 1, and she felt really bad, really distraught over his death because it was in a way her fault. And so now he's just there, and that triggers something inside her. Again, she's supposed to be kind of like something's not right, but this guy being here throws her off. She drops her bag, she backs up against the wall, and she's like, "No, he's dead. He's dead." She's like, "I saw you die. When I got the Witchblade, because that's the moment that she got the Witchblade weapon. He got shot dead because they were investigating this thing, and then she found her way to the Witchblade weapon itself, and that saved her life." And so she's like, "Am I dreaming? I got the Witchblade, or is this just a watch? Do I even have the Witchblade?" She's kind of just freaking out here, and everyone's kind of looking at her like, "Oh, you know, you've been having a rough time. Maybe you should go home and get some rest." Okay, back with Wolverine. You get the girl here. And again, I think this is a Marvel Comics character. I think Wolverine mentioned it. The lady is Zoe Culloden. She's an agent for the interdimensional investment company called Landau, Luckman, and Lake. What the fuck is that? I've heard of it. I don't care. So I don't know why she's in here, why this matters. But there's Wolverine. He's with her. They're in some kind of office building, I guess. They were out in the streets. Now they're just in an office building. Again, we're just here for Turner's art. Hot girl. And then this shot of Wolverine. You know, Turner gets known for drawing the sexy ladies, the soft curves and the tiny waist and the big ass and the chest and all that stuff. But he could draw big, muscly dudes really well. I really like all the anatomy going on in here. The big rippling shoulder muscles that kind of blend into his chest pectorals, the way the bicep is shown here, and then the forearm muscles folding into it. You know, a lot of artists who don't know anatomy very well will always hyper exaggerate the bicep because that's the main muscle on the arm, right? It's that big fucking bicep. But when you've got the arm turned a certain way, that bicep is on the other end of the arm, and so it's kind of a smaller element, but it doesn't make it less dramatic. Like everything about that drawing, I think just kicks ass. I really like it. Turner's great. Again, the Wolverine without the pointy hair, just a long kind of hairdo. I was surprised at how much I'm like, this actually works. I'm into that. So this is where it kind of does a little bit of a recap on the Witchblade comic. She travels around. She goes to this high-rise apartment where she ended up in conflict with Kenneth Irons, the main villain of the book, who was kind of the big evil force behind everything that was trying to control her and steal the Witchblade from her, and he's super evil. And they had a big conflict here, so she's like, I had a conflict here, and he tried to take the weapon from me, and we fought through all these places. I've been in this room. The final battle ended on the precipice of this building right here. This is just kind of a recap of the Witchblade story, but it's kind of feeling like none of this actually happened. Then she hears a voice behind her. She says, I don't get it. And the voice behind her says, I got it, and I want more of it. And there he is, Ian Nottingham, the second in command, super ninja badass warrior who worked with Kenneth Irons. And bad guy, but there was kind of a weird burgeoning relationship. There was like an attraction between these two. So we get a big splash page of him making out with her. And so then again, we get another bit of a recap of the Witchblade concept. So I guess this is bringing everyone up to speed. If you hadn't read the Witchblade comic, you kind of get to understand there's Kenneth Irons, there's Nottingham, there's her dead partner, the way the Witchblade weapon kind of looks, and the way she looks when she's wearing the full armor. Big side view shot of her face as she thinks about all of this. This is just all, again, just showcasing Michael Turner's art. Very detailed, very dramatic. He's got some weird things about his art. I have to be honest, like, this is not a critique of Michael Turner's art, but my enjoyment of his work is softened slightly as years have gone by, where I didn't look at it for long stretches of time. And then through the channel, I go back looking at it, and I certainly understand and appreciate all the things that he did really well. But he does have some stylistic things that I don't want to say they bug me. It's just kind of like it just stands out and just diminishes it a little tiny bit. If I thought he was a 10 before, maybe he's a 9.9 or 9.8. It's just a small thing. But I do, if I'm being honest, I do notice just a couple of weird things that just kind of, like this kind of a weird shot of her face. And I don't know. It's just minor things. He's absolutely fantastic. And, he earned everything he got while he was with us. But yeah, Witchblade, that's her whole thing. And I guess she's like, well, maybe this is what life is. Because she had an attraction to this dude. Like, her partner's alive. She's respected at her job. She gets to hang out with this handsome motherfucker. So they go to like a restaurant. So once again, Michael Turner taking every opportunity to put some kind of big, beautiful shot of some kind of like awesome character thing on every page. Some people would say it's an anchor image to make it sellable on the secondary market. I hesitate to think that Michael Turner was composing his pages thinking about selling them after the fact. I have no idea. I didn't meet the guy. I didn't know anything about it. I feel like, though, it's probably just his artistic style. I want to draw something big and awesome and cool on every page. Why not take that opportunity? That's his whole thing. So, Witchblade, Sarah Pazzini, and Ian Nottingham, they're sitting at this table. She's asking, like, how long have we been seeing each other? And he's like, well, seeing each other? We're engaged, if that tells you anything. So that never happened before. So again, she's just kind of like, I don't get what the hell's going on, but she's trying to, like, do I just go along with this? Am I imagining things? Am I forgetting things? While all this cutesy relationship shit is going on, there's a hand outside of the restaurant holding a cigarette, and then here we see a couple little bony things protrude from it. Oh my God, who could this possibly be? But while they're having their conversations, Nottingham just says, damn it, Sarah, get down, and Michael Turner is going to blow us away. Big double page spread of Wolverine jumping through the window. He's after Nottingham. Why? Well, we'll find out why. This is, unfortunately, Bone Claw Wolverine. Never been a fan of it. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I hated the whole concept of the bone claws. I've talked about this where Wolverine never had bone claws until they decided to rip the metal out of him, and they're like, well, maybe he's got bone claws underneath, and he always did. It was the dumbest thing they ever did to the character, and I'll never, ever change my mind on that. But it exists, can't change it. But previous to Magneto ripping the metal out of Wolverine's body, there was no such concept of Wolverine having bone claws. The writers come up with that idea after the fact, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's really stupid. But anyway, it is what it is. And so here we have Bone Claw Wolverine. And if anyone can make him look awesome, Michael Turner can. Now, Turner does, like I was saying, he draws a really badass Wolverine. He does a couple of things that are different than I've seen anybody else do with the character. And I have to give him credit for trying and going out of his way to do something different. And most of them I like. One of them is kind of like, it's not a dislike, it just doesn't make any sense. Like it makes no logical sense, and I don't know how he kind of thought that it would work. One of those changes that is fine is his hair, as I've talked about. Another one of the changes is he gives Wolverine's fingernails almost claw-like little points. I've never seen any artist ever give Wolverine's fingers little claw-like things. I mean, why would you need to? He's the guy with blades in his fist. They come out of the back of his hands, adamantium, chop anything and everything up, and why would he need claws on the end of his fingers? But I feel like it kind of potentially fits the character. A lot of animalistic type mutants from X-Men in any comic, you know, when they're the animal type characters with the pointy teeth and the big wild hair, they'll have claws on the end of their fingers. So Turner does that, and that's an interesting take. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's just a thing that he did. I'm like, oh, It's interesting. It's his version of it. That works. There's another thing we'll get to in a couple of pages coming up. But that giant spread, man, did he go all out on that. That is a giant drawing. I love all the double lighting going on the side ribs here, across his arms. Very exciting, very explosive, really cool. He jumps down there and he's basically telling Nottingham's like, yeah, you think you could be in a disguise and no one else would know who you are, but I can smell it on you. That's Wolverine's most powerful mutant ability, it would seem. His ability to smell literally anyone in disguise of any power set, of any level at all. It's always written in comics, he can smell it. And if you're like, he can smell something, well, then it's quite simply, like, I was reading this, I'm like, oh, this is just Mephisto in disguise. Like, I figured it out instantly. And it doesn't matter. There's obviously something going weird with the characters if you follow the book. But Wolverine can see through it, and he's after Mephisto, so here he is. But Mephisto's not giving it up yet. He's going to keep playing this role for Sarah Pazzini. So he pulls out his swords, and if you know Nottingham, his double swords, he's a pretty epic badass. It would be interesting to see these two actually really go at it. But Nottingham stands there. Wolverine charges with his claws, stabs him right through the arm, and Mephisto just yells, no, slices Wolverine across the guts. Wolverine's like, yeah, that was pretty awesome, but it's not going to work. But then Wolverine gets tackled from the side by someone else. Well, clearly that's going to be Witchblade. And so she's on top of him and starts punching him in the face. And Wolverine's telling her, he's like, damn it, lady, stop. Look around. Everything's fake. And she notices, and what we're seeing is that nobody in this restaurant is reacting as if anything is going on. Like, it's all perfectly normal. He's like, just pay attention. What? And she's like, well, wait. She sees it and she acknowledges. She's like, what's going on? He says, it's because they're not real. So he's like, now get off of me. He throws her down. Wolverine doesn't know who this girl is. He says, I've got half a mind to gut you right now, but I know you've been duped. He's like, I understand you've been confused. He's pissed off because she's fucking with his world. But it's like, I understand you've been, you've been duped and you're being fooled and you don't even know it. Here is the one other thing that Michael Turner did as a design element that I think visually is interesting, but doesn't make any fucking sense. And hopefully it's staring at you all in the face. Again, Wolverine's giant hand on her face, got those claw fingernails that look good, but he's got his bone claws protruding out of his hand, which in and of itself, I don't mind, but how the fuck do those bone claws, those rigid claws that retract into his forearms, turn and flex at the wrist joint? This bugged me to no end. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, it makes perfect sense with Wolverine's metal claws, because they're like, if I can fit my fat arm in here, I'll use my little pointer stick. If this stick represents Wolverine's metal claws, they sit back here. And when he pops them, they have to go through his wrist and then out the front of his hand, right? So it makes sense they sit inside his forearm. They can't sit like this, otherwise you can't move your hand. So I just assume bone claws are the same thing. They're sitting back in here. And so the only thing that I could imagine why this would make any kind of sense, and I've never heard this spoken or explained, and so if it is, maybe you guys can tell me this is how it is, but maybe it's just like his claws only exist as short little nubby things in the back of his hand, and when he pops his bone claws, they just stretch and grow, but then when he pulls them back in, they suck themselves back in like a softening cock just to become a tiny little thing. If that's the explanation, I reject that stupidity along with everything else with the bone claw things. They're hard, sharp, rigid things, and they're supposed to be in his forearm, and just having these little claw nub things sticking out, I don't get it. I've never heard an explanation for it, and that thing I just come up with, or maybe they're just little tiny things here, and they always just flex and extend out, telescope forward. I've never heard that explained, but that's the only thing I could imagine it is. I think visually it's an interesting idea. Like, if you've ever played with a cat or a dog or any kind of animal that has claws, like you could see it when you kind of get into their paws, and you can see their claws kind of there. They just got to flex and, extend them out. So I kind of get it, but man, did that bug me. I'm spending way much more time on this than I need to, but that, I'm like, it looks interesting, but it doesn't make sense. It just drove me nuts, if you couldn't tell. But that aside, I think that's the only time, I think, where that visual thing is shown like that. That aside, this kind of kicks Witchblade back into like getting clarity. If she can like get the Witchblade weapon to activate, it'll kind of help give her clarity of her mind. And then it starts her little watch weapon, which is the Witchblade itself. It starts expanding and growing. And now she forms her own Witchblade weapon on her arm and her own claws. And Wolverine says, you better snap out of whatever's going on in that head of yours, because you've been tricked by the greatest of them all. And if you don't act fast... So, I like all the page layout and everything like that. These kind of cascading, descending panels kind of leading you out of the page. It's really interesting. And the way that these characters are kind of breaking the border here. Some artists cannot do these page layouts and have it work. And some artists attempt to mimic this interesting and weird panel layout without understanding how to really put it together compositionally and make it flow. But Turner gets it. It works, and in a lot of ways, like it's unnecessary, but it helps, and it visually is interesting. Like both of the layouts on both these pages, there's no like straight, rigid square panels. They're all just kind of like hand drawn. Like there's kind of like a double panel thing laying on top of each other. The way that they're overlapping each other, the way they're breaking the border. This entire panel is cranked over on its side in a way. In a way, you could say it shouldn't work, but it totally works. Anyway, back to the story. Wolverine's like, damn it, Witchblade girl, you better get your shit together because, oh shit, there's Nottingham, and he changes in front of us into this shot of Mephisto. And I got to say, I always loved that pose. And ever since I saw it, it stuck out to me as like, I have a theory as to where he got this, this pose from. And this could be I could be completely wrong. He's kind of like, he's just introducing himself. He's like, he says, yeah, it's all for show, Ms. Pizzini. It was all for your benefit, I assure you, and you performed admirably as I knew you would. But it's like kind of like his hand on his midsection, his other hand extended forward. There's a scene in the Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, where the bad guy, I think Dorian, gets the weapon at the end of the movie when they're at the Coco Bongo Club, and there's a part where he gets the mask, and they showed up and took care of everything. And there's this one little moment where Dorian with the mask on, he kind of addresses the crowd. He's like, I will be your host for the remainder of the evening, and he kind of does this kind of pose. And so I'm like, did he get this pose from that shot in the movie? I'm going to try and interject it into this video if I can find it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will be your host for the remainder of the evening.
But that's what I always thought. And I could be completely wrong. I wrong in every way possible. But when I saw this, I'm like, I know where that's from. But I just might be, Turner could have just drawn this from out of his mind, and it just looks the same, and my mind connected it on my own. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I think it looks awesome. Mephisto looks pretty badass. The hair, the pointy cloak, and the torn up cape and everything like that. Pretty awesome. So now Witchblade and Wolverine, they're looking at each other. Witchblade's finally got her mind kind of clear. She's like, who are you? And why are you picking me? What is going on? So then, oh, shit. Got to flip the book over. We got to get the awesome shot as Witchblade and Wolverine stand there looking badass as hell. Her dress is torn up so we can see her underwear. That's extremely important to the book. She's got like super badass claws going on. There's Wolverine again. His hair. I love the inking going on in these lines here. I'm so envious of people that can throw these long, awesome ink lines like that. It looks so good. There is Wolverine with the little claws sticking out of his hand again. Now this doesn't bother me as much because his wrist isn't bent. It's still weird, and it's not how I would ever draw the guy, but it's an artistic choice that Michael Turner made, and I respect it, and I like it in as much as his design or his version of the character. I do look at that, especially with little furry things on the back of his arms. I'm like, he looks like he's wearing the claw shield from Lion-O from Thundercats. Like, it kind of looks like that. And then I'm like, oh man, Michael Turner drawing Thundercats. That would have been awesome. But anyway, they stand there. They got to look awesome. They got to flex and pose and be badass. And it looks great. I was like, I bet you this is the end of the book. But it wasn't. I was actually surprised. I'm like, oh, that story's over. Oh, no. Oh, all right. We get to go a little bit more. So Witchblade fires out her tendrils from the weapon itself. Mephisto just grabs him. Wolverine slashes the guy across the guts. Doesn't do a thing. And he's like, oh, yes, make me suffer. So, show me what you and the Witchblade can do. Like a very bored look expression on his face. And so Witchblade, Sarah's like, fine. So she unloads with the fire and the energy and the power of the Witchblade weapon. I've always felt like this weapon had a lot more potential and capacity than she ever really accessed, especially this early on in the kind of her interaction with the weapon. But vaporized Mephisto, pile of fire, Wolverine and Witchblade. This is a panel where maybe Michael Turner kind of cheaped out a little bit. Maybe he was running out of steam and time. It's like, I got to do a quick silhouette of the two. And then Mephisto just rising out of the fire. He's like, very good. You are perfect. A beautiful blend of passion, recklessness, and Catholicism bred guilt. Wolverine here could learn a lot from you. But wait, I do believe we haven't been properly introduced. So now Wolverine and Witchblade look upon each other, or they look upon this. God damn it, now we got to flip the book over again. But there is Michael Turner just going, holy shit, I'm going to do the most badass version of Mephisto I could possibly imagine. Giant double page spread. Is that the end of it? Yeah. So yeah, now we finally get the ending, and Turner just kills it. I didn't mention, and I should, the coloring in this book has been first-rate, top-notch, badass coloring. Top Cow always had just some of the best. Wildstorm had some great stuff too. Even Extreme Studios, once they got going on, they had some pretty dang good colorists. But I feel like Top Cow just always just kind of had the best. Seems like they just brought out the best in everybody. And this shot, the heavy lighting, the great inking all over the place. What an awesome shot. Absolutely love it. It looks incredible. And so, again, this is just almost, you could almost make the argument like, yeah, there's a story here, but it's just kind of like a book to showcase Turner's incredible work. And man, were we all there for it. I'm into it. Like I said, I got a little bit kind of soft on it here and there as years have gone on, but it's in a minor degree. So the next chapter, I can't remember exactly how. Wolverine ends up vanishing after a couple of pages, and Witchblade runs off and runs into Elektra, because we have to have everybody run into another character with each subsequent book. So, Wolverine and Witchblade barely had any time to interact for longer than 2 seconds. And by the time the next book comes along, Wolverine gets poofed away into a ball of fire, and then we just run into Elektra. Michael Turner draws, I think the first 7 pages, and it gets turned over to David Finch, who does a pretty good job, all things considered. But Finch in that era is not reaching Michael Turner level. No disrespect meant, but it's just the truth. But it all looked pretty good. So that's that. Wolverine Witchblade. Yeah, we're here for Michael Turner art. And he killed it on every page, honestly. It looked pretty dang good. I love his version of Wolverine. I seem to remember right before Michael Turner passed away, there was an announcement of a Jeff Loeb written, Michael Turner drawn Wolverine book that they were going to do. Say what you want about Jeff Loeb. I'm kind of fine on the guy. Some people seem to dislike him a lot, and some people dig him, whatever. As a writer, he's written stuff I've enjoyed. But goddamn, considering the rendition of Wolverine that Michael Turner does, to see him do several issues in a row, kind of like the way he did with the Superman-Batman crossover that reintroduced Supergirl, just several issues of just primo, top-rate Michael Turner art on Wolverine, that would have been incredible. I wish that could have happened, but unfortunately, life sucks sometimes, and took Michael Turner from us. But that's all for this one. Yeah, just fantastic art. It's just beautiful stuff. And I don't know. That's all I got for this one. So as always, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it, guys. I got the best fans. It's hard. I even feel stupid saying I have quote unquote fans. People who tune in because you enjoy my stuff, even if you disagree with me. Most of you are just pretty awesome bunch of folks, and it means a lot to me. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And oh, if you want to support me, I mean, I kind of keep forgetting to do this, but I've got my own goddamn comics. Yeah, if you wanna support a fella, buy his fan comics. I got a He-Man Masters of the Universe fan comic I put together in a sketchbook full of hot naked girls. You know you want it. You know you're into it. Just hit me up and we could get copies in your hands. I've got these available. So if that interests you, just let me know. But anyway, that's all I've got for now. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.